Madame Miguel Castaneda here again, ex-Marine Sergeant, United States Marine Corps. I'm gonna make a quick video. I say my background so people know, in case this is the first video they click on, and also because some of the stuff I say is pretty extreme or serious, and it's still legal and everything. There's freedom of speech, and I'm trying to be appropriate and say everything legally in a way that makes sense. That's in a way that protects you and protects your friends and family, in a way that keeps you safe. So I'm at this park, and you'll see in the background the most enormous flag I've ever seen in the world. You can't see it; it's draped down because it's not windy over by that HEB sign. There's a huge flag by the bubble bath, and it's freaking like 20 feet by 30 feet. It's the hugest flag I've ever seen. Usually they sell some on Amazon for like 12 feet by 8 feet or something like that, and that one's like 20 feet by 30 feet or something. I'll get closer to it some other time, but today I make videos. This is for my friends and family mainly, but for anyone else watching this, I wanted to make a video on cybersecurity. From the courses that I've been through, the stuff I've learned throughout the years, all the research I've done, and I'd be doing this on my computer and giving examples and going to sites and showing exactly how operations are performed using certain technologies and software via possibly the darknet, right? That's a very dangerous place to be at, but the darknet, in case anyone doesn't know, was actually developed, I don't want to say the year because I don't have it memorized, maybe the 1990s, something like that, but it was developed by intelligence officers, naval intelligence officers, so they could communicate secretly, throughout the US and other countries and stuff like that, discreetly and secretly, not on the public internet, not unencrypted where everyone can see or find the information or somehow decrypt or whatever, but it's on the Tor, right? The onion router was I believe developed by naval intelligence officers, or it was developed for naval intelligence officers to communicate. Now I think it was actually developed by naval intelligence. And so with that said, I wanted to kind of, instead of like doing things on my computer software and stuff like that, I wanted to do a tabletop exercise. And if people who are into cybersecurity, information technology, about that. That's going to be, just saying red team. I'm wearing red shirt to represent like red team, right? If I was a offensive hacker, right? There's red team and blue team. Blue team's defense, right? And that's where everyone should want to be. Blue team, defending a company, protecting assets, protecting information, classified information, financial resources, money, social security numbers, credit card numbers, etc., HIPAA, medical information, all that stuff, right? With NASA, it's going to be like, information on anything they found in space, planetary information, all sorts of information they've discovered, stuff they're working on, operations they do, satellites, where they're orbiting, all that information, right? So that's probably top secret kind of information. And they denied me my application when I actually applied for NASA. They said I lack the specialized experience necessary for that position. So that's fine, and that's probably true, but it's not completely accurate. They could have just gave me a chance. I do a good job. They just there's like a structure. A lot of times training's not the best, but you have to be that curious, inquisitive individual in information technology to find the resources you're looking for. And no matter what, finding books, library, reaching going online, reaching sources online, reaching out to people, reaching out to mentors, reaching out to cybersecurity, individuals, experts, right? Experts, cybersecurity experts in the space, and trying to contact them, paying for consults, and getting the information you need to become that expert, right? Okay, so NASA denied me, that's fine. I was denied by the CDC, that's fine. I applied for high-level positions, but a lot of times they want to see that experience. So where is that experience going to come from if you don't get a chance? It's difficult. It's hard to break into a lot of jobs in information technology because you don't have experience, right? You got to build a portfolio. They're always saying, and I learn from other people, build a portfolio, show your experience. So my experience, I might say some not perfect, everything's perfect that I'm going to say. It might not be perfect, but the tabletop exercise, red team, blue team, I'm going to talk a little bit in depth about that, right? So, yeah, I'm under a bridge right now. I'm not homeless, I promise. Just chilling. It's a park, walkway. Okay, so if I'm a hacker, this is really important, right? Any hacker, any real hacker, any legitimate, real dark web hacker that's out there, doing things illegally, maliciously, trying to steal information, sell the information, steal credit cards, get that money, do what do you call it? Identity fraud, right? Identity fraud, identity theft is what it's called, right? They'll bust out, they'll get your information, your social security number, your address, your birthday, maybe your mother's maiden name, some of your passwords, and they start calling places, busting out loans in your name, house loans, credit card loans, credit cards, and they're getting all this money. They're selling the credit card information, right? And they might sell that for cheaper, but it's on the dark web. That makes sure they have less risk, right? Because if they're out there using these credit card in your name, these credit card numbers in your name, they risk getting caught. So they might just sell it on the dark web for a little cheaper, right? And then with ID fraud, they'll steal your ID via your social security, address, your home address, your mother's maiden name, sensitive, very, very sensitive information like that. Your mother's maiden name, and obviously, whatever kind of security questions else they might ask, right? Get a home loan in your name, they start getting home loans, and then I guess somehow making money off that, selling the home and making money like that. Some people really have trouble getting their credit back because you're like, well, who took out this mortgage in my name? I didn't take out this mortgage. I didn't buy this car. I didn't, these aren't my credit cards and stuff like that. Well, those legitimate hackers aren't using cryptocurrency exchanges like Binance or, that Fried Bankman case, whatever his exchange was, and he got busted because he's an idiot, and he's smart. He made it to a certain level, but he wasn't of good character, so that's why they just took him down. He wasn't doing the right thing, and he was a big scam artist. But there's Binance, there's CoinMama, I believe. I've used certain cryptocurrency exchanges. There's a popular one, I can't remember it, but it's just where you trade crypto, Coinbase or something like that, right? So the most secure one you're gonna find, that's most vetted, there's probably other ones out there you might be able to find, but this is the one Edward Snowden trusted, right? Edward Snowden, if you don't know who Edward Snowden is, hopefully most of you do. He was ex-CIA. He was in the CIA. He was a cybersecurity analyst for the CIA and the NSA, right? He was top dog, right? He was chief, CIA operative in cybersecurity and NSA, National Security Agency for the United States of America. He could jump into he could hack into that. He could really monitor the president's emails if he wanted to. He said that's the level of authority and capabilities that he had. If he thought there was a breach in national security, he could hack into the president's emails and see what's going on, if there's any breach of national security, or if maybe the president's being if he got hacked or something. So he has to monitor all that kind of stuff, from my understanding, right? Now that's from his own words, what he said on his documentaries, if you've ever watched them. And so he used Tails, right? And that's the bit you're gonna need to know. It's Tails is an operating system that's has basically a system amnesia. It just forgets everything. You use it, you do what you have to on it, whatever kind of research, hacking, whatever you're gonna do on the dark web or whatever like that, and then it erases everything like nothing ever happened. It's really difficult for any experts or forensic analysts or digital detectives, digital forensic experts. It's really difficult for them to recover any information in the RAM or anywhere else, or SSD, or where the cache or anything like that, right? It just erases everything like it never happened, right? It starts from scratch. You can have persistence, from my understanding, right? I don't use it too much. I don't need it, but you can have persistence and have it remember things. But if you want it to forget everything, that covers your tracks. You're 100%, almost 100%, right? Nothing's 100%. Like the biggest experts in the world, the CIA, might be able to recover some information from it, some of your activities, right? Somehow, right? I don't know how, but you know, anything's possible. So they always say in cybersecurity, anything's possible. But anyway, it's very secure for the most part. It makes it very difficult, even for the government, right? Or the superpower, America, the superpower government. It's difficult for them to recover any of your activities if you use Tails operating system, the Tails operating system. And you can download that, put it on a thumbstick, a thumb drive, and you know, just use it whenever you need to, then erase everything. And now the secret to that is that some people don't know. I had to learn this from experts in the field that, you know, I've reached out to people, and, you know, you have to ask a lot of questions. That's where that curiousness and inquisitiveness, you know, helps you. And so Tails has its own, it uses the Onion router, which is Tor, so you could access the dark web, but it also has its own digital cryptocurrency wallet. And you know, it's called Electrum. That's going to basically, you have a seed phrase, right? You have 12 words, I believe, and that gives you access to your private keys, and it generates your private keys, and then your private keys give you access to the blockchain, which is where your money is stored, right? That's your wallet, your Electrum wallet. We use private keys, which is derived from the 12-word phrase, seed phrase. And then, you know, it can tell you how much you have in your account. It'll give you access to your account. If you have $1 million, you know, and it's in your Electrum wallet, it's a lot more secure from the government because it's decentralized, right? It's on the blockchain, and there's no central authority. They're like, you know, Binance, CoinMama, all that stuff like Coinbase and stuff, all those cryptocurrencies, FTX or whatever, all that stuff on the public internet, that's you know, that's centralized. That companies own that, so they can, if they think you're doing anything malicious or illegal, they could freeze your account. If you have $10 million in there, even $100 or $1,000, they could freeze it and say, you know, we think there's something suspicious or illegal, and they'll do an investigation. They could seize your assets. You might have a lot of money, and they could seize all your assets. With Electrum and Tails, they can't really do that. The only possible way, with all the research I've done, for the government or any entity, nation state actors, other hackers, to steal your money from Tails and Electrum is like social engineering. Somehow get you to give them access and tell them your seed phrase, or you know, get your information somehow, or use a keylog stroker or something like that, hack into your account and stuff like that. So you have to maintain device security and make sure you don't get social engineered and stuff like that. But you know, you have that. That's what real hackers are going to be using. Let me just walk this way again. That's what real hackers are going to be using, right? That's very vetted. Edward Snowden used it. And again, just before I forget, Edward Snowden, he I don't know how far that place goes. Let me walk this way. He said his one of his famous quotes is you know, about, you know, freedom of speech, right? That's what he was mainly about, privacy, speech. That's why he got asylum in Hong Kong, and then he got asylum in Russia, you know, and so that's where he's at right now. But he said, you know, saying that you don't care about privacy because you have nothing to hide is the same as saying you don't care about freedom of speech because you have nothing to say. And I'll say that again. Edward Snowden, one of his famous quotes was, saying you don't care about privacy because you have nothing to hide is like saying you don't care about freedom of speech because you have nothing to say. So that kind of makes sense, right? So freedom of speech, that's what he was about, privacy and the government, not you know, hacking into civilians systems and stuff like that. Good morning. And you know, he wanted to, you know, just make sure I guess they used to use a program called Prism, and Prism was spying on every single American in the United States. Now they have Pegasus, and Pegasus was spying on everyone's phones, right? iPhones, Androids, all that stuff. Like, you know, it's like a Trojan horse type of malware that just lets the government spy on your shit. So, you know, with that said, okay, back to the tabletop exercise, right? Red team, blue team, offense, defense. If I'm a hacker, that's what I'm using. Tails operating system, Electrum, right? How are you going to catch me? If I have my seed phrase memorized, I don't write it down anywhere. You could search my place, you could search the woods. I'm not going to bury this seed phrase because I don't know if it'll erode over time or get rained on, or someone will steal it if they find it and steal it. I don't know, you know? So I'm going to memorize that shit. 12 words, you know, how hard can that be? Try to, you know, just make a story out of it, right? It's easier to remember that way. And just remember in the seed phrase, keeping that locked in your memory, and making sure you recite it in your head, you know, every day, you know, for a few times at least, maybe an hour a day. And you won't forget, you know, as long as you're not doing drugs or drinking and getting brain damage. If you're smart, the good hackers are smart, you know. So that's how you're going to, you know, and how are they going to break in the first place to get that money? If I want $1 million, I want to put $1 million in Electrum, in my Electrum wallet, so I could buy gift cards and buy shit on the dark web, and I could go to Bitcoin ATMs or shit like that and, you know, turn it into cash, or somehow just do small transactions to where I could pull the money out and maybe send it to my bank, and it doesn't look suspicious because it's only like maybe $100 or $200 here and there over time. But hey, that's free lunch every day, you know, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I'm set, you know. And if you go to ATMs, I haven't figured all that stuff out, right? Because I'm not into the dark web, but I'm pretty sure there's Bitcoin ATMs that they could pull money out from their cryptocurrency wallets, right? And you're taking out $300 a day, you know. It'll take a while to get $1 million, but, you know, that's still enough to pay someone rent, to pay your landlord, to pay for your car bill. How much is that? 30 times 300, $9,000 a month, something like that, right? So if you have a card, you could, you know, pull out $9,000 a month. And that's the dark web shit. So that's what hackers gonna do. And if I had to survive, if I'm in Russia, if I was Edward Snowden, I'd be hacking like a motherfucker. I'd be like, hey, I need money. They're gonna kill my ass or some shit. And with all that stuff going on right now with the war, well, I wouldn't be surprised if, yeah, he did some speaking, but, you know, he can only say so much because security, national security, and classified information and stuff. So, you know, he's got to make money some other way. And as an ex-CIA operative and ex-NSA with his background in cybersecurity, he would talk about exploits and shit like that. I don't know how advanced he was, but he probably has connections, right? And in Russia, they don't care what hackers are doing, because as long as they're bringing in money to the economy, that's fine. They don't care. Russians don't care. The president, their government doesn't care. But if you hack Russia and you're in Russia, they'll get your ass. If they catch you, you're fucked. You know, they could do some damage. Prison, maybe kill you, depending on how extreme, right? And forms of torture, really, like probably food deprivation, water deprivation, sleep deprivation, and that's what they do in prison, right? So shit like that, right? Maybe drug you up, try to get information from you, put you on truth serum and shit like that. Rubber hose technique, it's called rubber hose technique, right? Just whip you with the rubber hose, beat information out of you, whip it out. And, you know, until you confess, until you give them the information they want to know, right? And they might use other methods, but, you know, back to the tabletop exercise. You know, that's what I would do. That's what any real hacker would use. You know, there might be more advanced things, advanced technologies, advanced cryptocurrency wallets or operating systems, but those are the most advanced ones that I've learned about. That no one I know uses that stuff, because that's illegal, right? It's not illegal, but it's anyone that uses that stuff is probably either they're doing research as a student, or they're doing some illegal shit probably, you know. Who else is going to use that? It's like, who else would use a weapon like a pistol or a gun with a shaved off serial number, right? You know, you can't really say research or anything like that. It's just someone up to no good, right? You know, there's certain circumstances where they might, someone might need it to protect themselves or something like that. But for the most part, how you doing, sir? But so it's hard to make those 2 points make sense together, but it's just kind of like a metaphor, I'd say, right? So so other methods, right? One of the there's so many resources about this online, but this is my portfolio, my project, my tabletop exercise. So what I would do, I would get an unlicensed version of Cobalt Strike, right? There's another website called exploitpack.com, and I could try their 0-day exploits. I'd be using 0-day exploits. I'd be using exploitpack.com. I'd be finding unlicensed versions of Cobalt Strike on the dark web, and then I'd be looking for other ransomware like Lockbit. Lockbit's pretty notorious and infamous for how much ransomware and damage is done to companies. They do ransomware as a service. You could just pay them and coordinate with them to attack companies for you, and they may rip you off. It's always a risk, but I'd be trying, right? And there's if I was a malicious hacker during this tabletop exercise, right? That's theoretically, all this is theory, right? This is theoretically what I'd be doing. And so Cobalt Strike, I might use that in a virtualized machine and then take snapshots, so I could revert to the beginning. And if there's a trial version, I could continue to use this every month, right? And it would just refresh and restart. You could use a snapshot sometimes for that in like VirtualBox or VMware, right? VMware is more professional, right? So that's kind of like the offensive side, right? Lockbit, ransomware as a service, Cobalt Strike, Exploit Pack, obviously Kali, Linux, Metasploit. There's so many tools, right? Nitco for web server, web server information extraction, stuff like that, database information extraction. I believe there's stuff like SQL Wizard, SQL injection. Now, a lot of companies are protected from this kind of stuff, right? Because some of this stuff is pretty basic, but I'd be trying everything, right? Every tool in Kali. But the main way, hackers get in is usually phishing. So that'd be like Metasploit, MSF Venom, right? Making payloads, generating payloads. I might use something like Sliver by Bishop Fox, which creates a beacon and is actually considered more powerful than Cobalt Strike because it's less known. And that, therefore, there's less detection because companies are unaware of it, so they detect it less. Cobalt Strike is more popular, so there's more detection with it, right? So, and that's the offensive side. So the defensive side, what I would do if I just wanted to be a cybersecurity analyst and be on the defense, right? Aside from Oracle, there's 3 main players in the cloud, right? If you're working on premise, you might use something like VMware, and VMware is virtualization like VirtualBox, and it gives you a virtualized environment to create servers, machines, and things of that nature, right? And you could create networks, stuff like that. So an bigger enterprises, they're gonna use VMware. It's more professional. You could get, it's more expensive, for their licenses, but it gives you more control. And so that's going to be something that you would consider if you're working on premise, right? VMware, things of that nature. Configuring servers, monitoring machines, putting anti-malware, making sure antivirus is good to go. Speaking of that, I'll speak on for personal use, you can use CrowdStrike, right? CrowdStrike has an amazing next generation antivirus antivirus software. That's they have one that's about $100, another one that's about $200 a year, I believe. That's pretty good for CrowdStrike because it's next generation antivirus. If you want something basic, Norton, formerly known as Symantec, It's pretty good. It comes with a VPN and all that stuff. You could call them, ask them for help. They'll remote into your computer if you have any trouble, and they'll fix stuff for you. I've done that a few times. So, that's for personal use. And then also Cisco, right? Cisco Plus and Cisco Apex are VPN services that you have to call them, contact sales for pricing information, but that's a pretty legit VPN, right? There's other VPNs like Express VPN and Proton and Malwarebytes and Norton, stuff like that. There's all sorts of Ghost VPN and Vanish VPN and all that stuff, and those are pretty basic. But you want something enterprise grade for your home use, Cisco, right? Cisco Apex. And even a firewall, Cisco, right? I believe it's like Series 1010 or something like that. You get a hardware firewall. It's much more secure than a software firewall, right? Because it's dedicated software, dedicated firmware and all that stuff, specifically designed to act as a firewall. Now, when you use a firewall in your software, just in your computer, you use a firewall. Whenever you use other resources and you're using other resources in the computer, it's taking up your computing resources, so therefore the firewall has less capability and less proficiency, and it utilizes less resources. So it makes it to defend less, right? It'll defend less. It won't be at 100%, right, if you're using a lot of resources. But if you have hardware firewall like Cisco 1010 series, that's going to be a dedicated hardware for your firewall. So, you want something high-tech advanced to do PCI compliance, VPN into an enterprise and scan everything for PCI, DSS compliance, HIPAA compliance, if you're working remotely, or NIST compliance and stuff like that. The main thing that took me a while to understand is the cloud is where most remote work is going to be, right? You want remote work and cybersecurity, it's going to be the cloud. Azure, the Google Cloud, it's going to be or AWS, Amazon Web Services, right? The GCP is Google Cloud Platform, AWS is Amazon Web Services, and Microsoft Azure, right? That's I think Bill Gates helped found that, I believe. I don't think he has 100% ownership, but he's part of that, right? So Azure, AWS, I believe they how do you say this? They're responsible for hosting Netflix, I believe, right? So that's how powerful it is. You got to think of all the movies and information and all that data, just being so organized into Netflix that you could just download on your smart TV and watch anything from anywhere in the world, right? With the internet connection, at high speed. That's going to be AWS, I believe. Google Cloud Platform, maybe small businesses, maybe some big companies and stuff like that. Probably large enterprises as well. But Azure's pretty secure as well and pretty trustworthy and reputable. They even have their own government version, right? Government version of Azure that is specifically for the federal government. They even have some private, data servers and databases and data centers, right? That is just classified. And I don't even know where they're at. Like they wouldn't even teach us that in school. They just say, hey, some are so classified, we don't even know where they're at or what they're doing, really. Something with the government, that's all we know. So that's just classified, right? And so, you got to think that's pretty trustworthy if the government trusts them that much to house their highly sensitive and extremely classified information, shit like that, right? National security information, stuff like that. So if you want to become a cybersecurity expert, you don't know where to start. Microsoft Learn, look that up. Google it, Google Microsoft Learn. That's it. And it'll pop up, learn.microsoft.com. And they have everything's free, right? To train yourself, just reading material, screenshots. But if you want live instruction, it could cost $2,000 to $3,000 for a live instructor to teach you, right? So you want to go through it stuff free, then I'd recommend doing cybersecurity engineering. Look at that. There's deer. See those deer? Can you see them? Where are they at? No, they're over here. Yep. It's safe over here. So Microsoft Azure, what I would do is do engineering, cybersecurity engineer associate, I believe is what it's called. That's going to get you a lot of information on how to operate in Azure cloud. And the highest level you're going to be able to achieve in Microsoft Azure, I believe, right, is one of the most advanced and one of the best things to understand in cybersecurity if you want to become expert, right? Cybersecurity architect, right? If you want to become a cybersecurity architect with Microsoft Azure, take that course, study it, get some material from Udemy, get some material from anywhere online. Buy the book, buy the Microsoft cybersecurity architect book from Amazon. Look it up, and you'll find the official book with the Microsoft logo. And that's going to teach you everything you'll need to know about how to design, migrate, data, and then design all the security structure in an enterprise environment. That's where enterprises operate. Enterprises operate Fortune 500 companies, Fortune 50 companies, multi-million dollar companies, billion-dollar companies, probably multi-billion-dollar companies operate in the cloud. Google Cloud Platform, Amazon Web Services, and Microsoft Azure. So, if I'm on the defense, right? I've talked about the offense, red team. Now I'm talking blue team, right? You're going to have to use stuff like, obviously, a security information event management system, SIEM. You're going to have to use, obviously, strong access control list, strong firewall protocols, strong, you're going to have to use, what is called XDR, extended detection and response, right? Put anti-malware on the systems, put anti-malware on each server, each machine, go into it, configure all the stuff, make sure, and there's going to be extended detection and response, which is like zero trust, right? Now, it's hard for me to say too much about this kind of stuff because I can't afford to operate and set up my own environment because it costs money to set up your own environment, right? You should get on-the-job training, but you need to learn a lot about it before you ever get the chance, right? This is me saying what I know about it. And XDR, Microsoft Purview for governance and data management, right? Governance and compliance. You're going to have to use, something like Microsoft Priva, which is for privacy. Something like if you're working for critical infrastructure, you can monitor critical infrastructure with Microsoft Defender for IoT, right? Defender for IoT, that's going to allow you to passively monitor critical infrastructure environment, right? And obviously, you're going to want to use something like Qualys to scan the system, Nessus, and stuff like that. Qualys is more reputable. Even for air-gapped critical infrastructure, you can use something like Qualys. You're going to have an extremely vetted device, an extremely vetted computer with the highest level of security to operate in critical infrastructure. You bring that computer in, you run Qualys, you scan the whole critical infrastructure environment, and it's going to scan for any vulnerabilities, and you're going to have to patch everything, make sure everything's up to date, make sure all the security is implemented, make sure it'll give you remediation and solutions, right? It'll give you remediation steps, solutions, and you have to implement all that. So you have to either be working with the engineer or a senior architect or something like that to really, enhance security, maintain security, and, resolve that. So they'll have to do that. Systems like that should be required by law. Certain frameworks, NIST, FISMA, Federal Information Systems, ISO, CIS, PCI DSS, HIPAA, COBIT, COBIT, however you want to say it. And, so those are frameworks you have to adhere to. There's usually likely hundreds of requirements that you're going to have to follow, certain protocols and enhance security. And there's lists of hundreds of requirements that you're going to have to resolve, right? So you could, let me see here. That's blue team. So there's a lot more, what do you want to call it? Technology, right? There's a lot more technology in Azure. I mentioned a few, but obviously you're going to have to do restores, backups. It gives you all those capabilities, right? If you're ever wondering, how do I do a backup? That's in Azure. You're going to have to configure that. And, it's usually really just the click of a button, but it's so powerful. If you mess up one click, It could damage a whole system. You could corrupt, basically destroy a company, or corrupt data, or the company could lose millions, or information could get leaked or something like that. Just one click. So each and every click, every single thing you do has to be meticulous and methodical, right? Deliberate. So one click, a few clicks probably, but we'll back up data so that you have a backup in case you get ransomware, right? So you get ransomware, a company gets ransomware. Okay, we're going to notify the customers. We're going to do PR, public relations, human resources, get together and, inform the public, inform customers via email, sending them letters in the mail, things of that nature. Maybe, something on the news saying that, we've been breached. Please change your credit card numbers, something like that, right? Or just if it's social security numbers, whatever, like just let them know possible breach, just monitor this stuff. And they're going to have to work with the customers to either reimburse them somehow if something happens, or, do something to where they somehow cover them somehow. But a lot of companies wouldn't want to do all that. But, so backups, right? Protect yourself from ransomware, protect companies from ransomware. There's also like using FIDO2 keys, biometrics, using an iris scan, using fingerprint scanners, using AES encryption, right? Hashing all the passwords, SHA-256, SHA-512, the highest forms of encryption. Just be as secure as possible, right? So, all this off the top of my head might be I might be mixing some information or getting some things not perfectly, organized. But when I get in there and I get in the portal and I'm studying and I'm using AI to help me with everything, nowadays people are using AI, right? At least Microsoft has Copilot, and the cloud should be integrating AI to help engineers and stuff like that, right? Instead of asking the engineers a million of questions, I have millions of questions, right? All the time. So, there's things like, backups, restores. There's a whole lot more, right? Disaster recovery plan. If something happens, have a plan for that. You're going to have databases, geographical location in different centers, right? Multiple backups in different locations. So if there's a hurricane or something happens in one location on the east side, and that's where your servers are located, then you have another backup on the west side, right? And the best way to have backups is really like multiple clouds, right? To have diversity, right? So have a backup in Azure, a backup in AWS, and maybe even a third backup in a Google Cloud platform, right? You have 3 backups, right? 2, really, right? So if 1 or 2 gets hacked, you still have, one that you can recover from if you get ransomware. That's a lot of companies' biggest threat and concern and, fear. Is ransomware, right? So everything just being locked up and getting rootkits and beacons and stuff of that nature. So scan as much as possible. I might use something like AC Hunter. I'd be using stuff, the most sophisticated technology for threat hunting, right? I'd be doing threat hunting with Azure Sentinel. I'd be using threat hunting with AC Hunter, right? And that's expensive. It's like $7,000 a year. I'd be doing a code analysis with Acunetics. That's like $7,000 a year as well. And that just tells you where there are bugs in your code, and it tells you exactly where, so the software developers can fix it, right? Using secure DevOps, DevSecOps, which is secure DevOps, to enhance security. Azure has those capabilities. So I haven't jumped into Google Cloud as much, or I haven't jumped into Google or AWS as much as I have Azure, because I know that's where you're gonna flourish, right? That's where you're gonna make that's where you're gonna break into cybersecurity on the defense, right? Most likely, right? So there's a bunch of different things you could do. Work for a computer shop. There's a dude that got his A+, right? A+, and that's all he got. And it's a certification now. He's a tech guy at Altex here in San Antonio, making decent money, maybe 50 grand a year, something like that, potentially. So hopefully he's doing good, but that's one certification. I don't even have that one. I have Security Plus. I have a couple of Azure certification, compliance, identity, and security. Then I have fundamentals for Azure. Then I have a Cert Nexus, CyberSec first responder, right? So I could respond to, you know, ransomware or threats or, you know, quarantine and stuff of that nature. So that goes with like monitoring logs, seeing where things happen, you know, finding out, and it costs money. You know, that's what companies don't understand. They need an IT budget, right? So with all that being said, if you become expert and Azure cybersecurity architect, then that's going to put you and place you in the best decision, the best position for to become a chief information security officer, right? If anyone's looking, any of my friends, anyone just stumbles across this video, you want to become a chief information security officer. They're making the big bucks. They're doing the executive decision making. And to do that, you need strategy and vision, right? Strategy and vision. You understand cybersecurity architect in Azure enterprise environment, such as Azure, then you understand all the technologies that need to be implemented, device health attestation, you know, things of that nature. So you run a certain license. I know a dude that works for the government, the state government of Florida, and he went to college and he got a job with one certification, just Security Plus. And that proves that he knows enough and he knows something. So they give him a job working for the state government of Florida. He's operating in Azure. All they did was, and I'm not sure exactly all the details, but from what he's saying, some entity or government entity in Florida, and they got a certain license, right? The E5 license, or one of the highest licenses, right? That you can get that comes with Azure Premium Firewall. You want a next generation firewall, you know, Cisco can do that. I'm not an expert at Cisco. That requires more dedication and a lot of studying, and you know, it was a little complex for me, but if I spend enough time, I'm sure I could get the hang of it, right? But usually, you know, architects, engineers, they kind of outsource stuff like that and let someone who's expert at that, certified in that, do that specific role, right? That's network engineering. So for me, I'm, you know, studying cybersecurity architect and engineering. That's different, right? Cybersecurity. So, you know, this guy, he works for the state government of Florida, and one certification, the Azure Premium Firewall, that's next generation, right? That's an intrusion prevention system. It might be expensive depending on how much information gets passed through it, how much data packets and all that. And, you know, so, you know, I believe it's kind of like pay as you go type of thing. And it, you know, large companies, they can likely afford it. Smaller businesses might not be able to, but Azure Premium is a next generation firewall with intrusion prevention capabilities. And that's going to block most, you know, if not, you know, as much as possible. It's going to block most malware, malicious activities, malicious packets and stuff of that nature. And I believe how it works is it, you know, it receives encrypted information, right, via the internet. Then it decrypts it, it inspects it, and then if it's good to go, it encrypts it again and passes it through, right? If it's if they decrypt it and then there's some malware in there or something suspicious, right, it blocks it, automatically blocks it, and then that's the end of that, right? So, you know, that it's very important to have things like that, because it's hard to monitor as an individual all that stuff single-handedly, right? And if you use an intrusion detection system, it's not as powerful because it just detects. It doesn't block anything automatically. Somewhere in the freaking woods. Hopefully I don't get attacked by a bear or some crazy shit. So, you know, Azure Premium Firewall, you know, Azure Sentinel, Azure SOAR, what is it called? Orchestration, automation, and response. Security, orchestration, and automated response, right? For some reason, I'm getting brain fog, but it's basically like a SIEM, right? It's basically, but it just automates activities, right? So it'll automate things of that nature, where certain things that it runs off playbooks, Jupyter playbooks or something like that, and you could run Azure playbooks and runbooks and things of that nature, and do some automation and tasks that would be tedious and monotonous, and that it's better if AI uses, if AI takes care of these tasks. So I believe that's what SOAR uses, machine learning, artificial intelligence, things of that nature. So you have XDR, Microsoft Purview, Microsoft Priva. You have, a lot of technologies. Microsoft Sphere for IoT. Important one is Microsoft Intune, right? Microsoft Intune for mobile device management, MDM, right? Mobile device management. You want to have corporate owned COPE, right? Corporate owned, personally enabled, right? COPE is the most secure, I believe, right? It's like, the company owns it. You can't have any personal data on it. Everything you do on it is for business only. And that prevents, that prevents the employee from downloading software or clicking on something, then the phone being infected, and then it infecting the network, and then the network being attacked and compromised. So you want to have highest level of security. That would be an enterprise environment. Sometimes they have like BYOD, which is bring your own device or something like that, and they could use compartmentalization or containerization and have like personally owned, on the front, and then in a virtualized environment have, the business operations or something like that, right? Things of that nature. But it's just like split in half where, personal one side and the other side is company, for company use, right? And even that can be dangerous because things can escape and jump over to the corporate side, and then the network can be infected. Other members and other employees can be infected, things of that nature. So the most secure is COPE, company owned, personally enabled, I believe, right? So just have them use separate devices, right? If companies can afford it, just pay for something secure like that, right? Pay for your employees' devices, and that makes them feel secure. They shouldn't be held accountable, right? If something happens, unless they're doing something malicious or illegal or something like that, or some sort of crazy accident. But for the most part, just have whitelisting, right? Application whitelisting. They cannot download, nothing can run, only certain applications can run. Application whitelisting, things in that nature. Like you might want to have something like threatlocker.com. Threatlocker.com is application whitelisting, right? You can use something like that. And how that would work in an Azure environment, I don't have too much hands-on in that, but I believe there's ways in Azure. There's going to be ways. There has to be ways to use application whitelisting, right? Probably in virtualized environment. It's a cloud. That's what it is. Installing ThreatLocker on your virtualized machines and servers and stuff like that is sometimes, you want to be careful. I believe it could damage your system a little, not damage, but freeze up your system possibly. I've used it. I did a trial, and I think I ran into an issue where, if you need to download something, then you have to reach out to them and get a response, and they have to reach out to you and give you access, and they have to make sure you are who you say you are, and then they allow you to download the program that you wanted to. So it's a high level of security. Maybe that's a good thing, but that's definitely a good thing for a company. For me, I was just getting practice. I was like, there's a little bit of coordinating, delegating, and managing and collaborating with other people in the IT space to get the program and software to work properly. So things of that nature, that's going to be blue team. That's where you want to be defending, right? And one thing I will say that's kind of interesting, when I was at Southern Careers Institute, this dude, he was in the Army. He thought he was talking about God, and we were talking about religion, and he was like, well, when God flooded the world, he might have been getting rid of bad code. People have DNA, right? And the DNA is code. And if he's like getting rid of bad code, that's what kind of quarantining the planet or something like that, right? So that's where you bring like computers and all that, kind of the tech world, right? And make it make sense to an organic creature, like an organic person like you and me. So, and if you're defending, right, you see people on the street, you do what you have to. You have to know karate or something like that. Have self-defense, have mace, or have a weapon or something like that, because if there's bad code running in the street, right, people might be programmed wrong, right? They might be programmed messed up by they might have had a bad upbringing, or they might not have good DNA, right? They just have bad code, and they just want to hurt you. They just want to rob you, steal your shit, probably maybe rape you and kill you. It happens. I don't want to make it sound extreme. It's really not, because it happens more than you think. Rapes happen in college dorms a lot. People get hazed in college and overdose and die sometimes. They do stupid shit, right? For the sorority or fraternity and things of that nature. So you might be able to hear this. Man, I think I went the wrong way. Well, I'm gonna have to walk all the way back. That was a long walk. This is a longer video than I expected, but some warehouse, someone playing music right there. See all that? You hear that? But it's an interesting walk. I guess it doesn't loop around. This is a dead end. So, a good place. Some people jogging and riding their bike around here, getting some exercise. I'm just going for a walk. I'll go to the gym later, but so I want to stay on this topic of cybersecurity, because I think I've said quite a bit, but I wanted to also speak on, like, if you're starving, if you're in a third world country, or say like Edward Snowden, he got asylum in enemy territory, right? What would you do if you just suddenly got placed in enemy territory where people want Americans dead and you're American? Or if you're in a third world country, say you're you're just born person of color, you couldn't help it, you're just born black or brown or something like that, Indian or whatever, and you have some intelligence, but you don't have any real opportunity. Say you're drinking swamp water, or you're eating grubs, or like education is difficult and you don't really fit in or know what to do, and it's difficult to find something you're good at. They say hacking is pretty easy, right? They say it's easy to hack. SANS.edu. SANS, it's a reputable institution, a school, and they have like college programs where they have masters and stuff like that, bachelors and all that. And I went to a webinar, and they explained it. It's like a castle, right? A castle that you're trying to defend, right? You need layers of defense, right? Defense in depth is what it's called. You're gonna have trenches, you're gonna have alligators, you're gonna have gates, you're gonna have guards, you're gonna have, in the castle is gonna be a maze with more guards, and you're gonna have the king is gonna have the highest level of security, right? So, and the queen, right? Princess and all that, and they're gonna have high levels of security. It's going to be very difficult to break into all those layers of defense. So, that's where you want to be at. Kind of lost my train of thought. So, defense is good, right? But if you're in a third world country, and like I said, one of those guys with the webinar, that's how he was talking, right? His class, right? That's what I remembered. Almost lost my train of thought, but basically he said hacking's easy, right? That's what he was saying. Hacking is so easy to hack, right? Kali Linux, a few tools. You can start breaking into systems overnight, probably, right? Watching a few YouTube videos. And, if you got some training, you could definitely do some damage, right? OffSec, offensive security. You get certified, you'll be able to do some damage, right? In an enterprise environment, probably, right? And SANS.edu also has high level, Active Directory and Azure pen testing and hacking and stuff like that. So, but what I've learned from all that training is that they don't teach the real ways that hackers break in. They don't teach MSF Venom will generate a payload, but generating a payload with Cobalt Strike, they don't give you hands-on with Cobalt Strike. That's the most widely used what is it called, adversary emulation tool in the world that nation state actors use. North Korea, Russia, China, they're using Cobalt Strike, and it's difficult to get proper training on that, because if you want to be a pen tester, they just think people use it maliciously. So, hopefully this is the right way back. Cobalt Strike is difficult to get training on, but if you got a hold of that, an unlicensed version, or you got some training, you could pay for some training, but a license costs like $3,000 a year, right? Some of the most advanced red teaming bundles with Cobalt Strike, you go to Fortune.com, it's going to cost $26,000 a year, and they won't give anyone access. You have to be with a legitimate company, right, that's doing legitimate legal pen testing, things of that nature, because how dangerous and powerful it can be, right? But there's unlicensed versions on the dark web. If I'm a black or brown kid from third world country, and all I want something for Christmas, and it's like, well, it's gonna cost a lot. Just get it, hopefully a basic computer, internet connection with Starlink, right? Elon Musk has Starlink. It'll give you access to the internet almost anywhere in the world, I think, or most places, right? Use Starlink, set up the little satellite, aim it up, right? And you know, start hacking. It's not as fast, but it should be good enough, right? Start using Cobalt Strike, an unlicensed version from the dark web, and just start getting an email list, download an email list from the dark web, start fishing. Fish. You could go fish in real life, maybe get a fish and eat it, but in the digital world, when you fish, you're fishing for, you're doing some social engineering, you're fishing for money, right? You might get some small bites like $200, $300. You ransomware someone's computer. It could be the average person, a grandma, and it's real sad that happens, but that's what they do, right? If you're starving to death, right, it's like you're not doing this really to hurt anybody, and you could get $100 here and there. But if you really want to, you know, be set for life, just go after a big company. Try to get just 1 million, a cool $1 million. You don't have to get 10 million or 20 million, or like Change Healthcare got hacked for like 20, 30 million, something like that. And, you know, Colonial Pipeline got hacked for like over 4 million or something like that. And Solar Winds got hacked. I don't know if they paid or not, but, you know, so if you're set with a cool $1 million in US currency, that's a lot more in other countries, double or triple or something like that, right? It's a lot more in some countries, right? It's a lot of rupees or baht or yen or something crazy, right? Other countries' currency. So, you know, and I don't recommend any of that, but if I got placed in another country, in enemy territory, or if something happened where I just lost everything, right, in a fire, and the government's not helping me, I don't have a friend, maybe I'm an orphan or a foster kid, and I really don't have anyone in the world. That's the best way to do something with yourself, right? And if it's all with Tells and Electrum, and you're doing stuff like so securely that you just don't get caught, you're just too good, you know, settle down somewhere, somehow get access to your funds, and, you know, just take care of your family, right? Provide for your family, and do what you can to enjoy life, right? You know, for me, I'm just going on this walk, gonna spend time with family later, and you know, so this is also part of my portfolio, and to also you know, I guess establish and demonstrate with this tabletop exercise that I know a few of these tools and technologies, and I know a little bit about what I'm talking about, and I know how powerful these technologies are and this information, right? So, you know, and it's the information age, right? Freedom of press, freedom of information. This is all just information. Freedom of speech. One crazy thing I'll say, since I'm in the woods, and, you know, I don't know if it's going to be my last day or not. Maybe after if something happens, maybe someone will find this phone and get this video off, right? But, you know, something crazy I want to say is, like, when a dog barks, right, it's making noise. It can't really speak. You don't understand it. They kind of understand each other. They have this instinct. I think people have this instinct too, right? Because we're mammals, we're animals. We're just on the top of the food chain, right? On the top of the fucking food chain. We're the most intelligent species on the planet, right? We just dominated every other species and animal in the world, right? Well, when you speak, I learned this from my mentor, right? It's crazy. This dude, he was an Army pilot, chief warrant officer, and he wasn't too crazy. I don't think it drove him crazy, but once you understand that if you're having a conversation, your vocal cords are vibrating, right? Your vocal cords are vibrating, and they're traveling through the air, right? They travel through the air. There's a slight delay, and like if someone shoots, it takes a few seconds. Or lightning strikes, it could take a few seconds, right, for you to hear it, for you to hear the thunder. That's how many miles away you know it is. So there's sound takes time to travel, right? There's the speed of sound, right? So when you talk, you're having a conversation, these vibrations travel through the air, right, that your vocal cords created. Then the other person's eardrums pick it up, and they travel through some fibers in your skull. I forget what they're called, like coaxial fibers or something like that. And but they basically travel through nerves or fibers and stuff like that, and they get sent to your brain and are interpreted by your brain through signals and things of that nature, potentially electrical signals and chemicals and things of that nature. And your brain interprets it as sound and reason, right? Because what really is a word but a sound, right? You're making. So hopefully some of that made sense. But I'm saying that that's part of freedom of speech and freedom of expression, freedom of information, freedom of press, right? And that's just what I learned in my education. That's nothing too crazy, but for me, I thought that was pretty interesting, right? Okay. There was a dude walking a dog, and there was this dude, this butterfly, right? There's this cool butterfly. When I first got here, it's beautiful. It was golden. It was like golden, yellow, and black, and it was just like shining off the sun, right? And then there was this couple. They had this three-legged dog, and that's cool. They were just taking this three-legged dog out. It might have got hit in a car accident or something like that, lost his leg, but I don't know if dogs get diabetes or anything like that. But that's some genuine kindness for that couple, this elderly couple, right? Probably retired senior citizens, and they were taking care of that three-legged dog. That's genuine kindness that you see every now and then in the world. I don't see it too much, but there are a lot of good people out there. For me, I've been through a lot of trauma, and I've seen a lot of bad things happen to good people. And I guess you could say, for me, to be honest, like, it started when I was at administrative segregation. I was like, I wanted to be understand politics and understand things in the world. So I ordered USA Today, and I started reading. It'll give you like a brief overview of something major, like a highlight that happens in every single state in the U.S. 50 different things that happen in each state, right? One thing that happened in each state, so 50 things total, right? 50 states, right? So it would be bad things. There'd be like fires, catastrophes, people getting assaulted or, obviously killed and things of that nature, like just heinous stuff all the time. So it's like, when you can visualize this stuff, right, in your mind, and know that it's real and know that it's happening around you, know that, it's not about believing the news, or the news could be lying and this and that. If you know it's true, you could go to, talk to the families and visit the cemeteries and see the death records and all that. It's really disheartening. It's really like, it could be frustrating, right? For the police, they might be disorganized where they're not fully trained to where, they could be preventing some of that stuff, but just by speaking their voice to Congress and lawmakers and politicians. And hey, if they have ideas, they should be speaking up, not just waiting for orders, but they're the officers. They should be giving the politicians the orders. They're supposed to do things for the people, right? Now we have to come up with these ideas together. And who better than police officers who see this shit on the streets every day? Like, what can they do? People don't want to put cameras up everywhere because of privacy, but people can enroll in certain systems, or people can have certain rights. And obviously having a concealed weapon, some people might be scared to do that, or all that kind of stuff. Is if you have kids, you just want to you're a little naive to where you think you're going to be okay, and sometimes you're just not. So for me, I believe I'm let go because I consider myself, to be a protector, right? I try to protect and defend, and I try not to waste my energy or resources on people that don't deserve it. But if I see something, I'll likely intervene, right? If it warrants my intervention, then for friends and family, I could speak up, say something, do something. People that I know and care about, I'll stand up for them. But people that I don't know, or could stab me in the back later or hurt me somehow, I could do some serious, some time, or get some serious penalties or consequences for just doing the right thing, and the cops wouldn't understand. They would just consider me an outlaw or a criminal, see me as the bad guy, or some schizophrenic, psychotic individual that's just doing stupid shit. That's where I step back, and I'm like, well, I have to consider reality, right? I have to consider the options of the possibilities of what can happen. Same as a chess game, right? I can only do so much. And I've had psychologists say, well, if you want to help, you could donate to the battered women's shelters, right? Now, if I was a cop and I had the authority, like a marshal, something like that, if I was a U.S. Marshal, I've heard stories they've told me in hospitals where U.S. Marshals, they go fuck people up. You could just beat the shit out of someone and walk away like it's nothing. And who's going to say shit? The cops aren't going to say, they can't just say shit. Who's going to say shit to a U.S. Marshal? The FBI won't say shit. You beat the shit out of someone. So obviously you won't just do that to anyone. Like, I'd be looking people up. I'd be like, what this guy do? What that guy do? Let me go sneak up on him, teach him a lesson, you know, and talk some shit to him, right? After you beat the shit out of someone, you have to tell them what they did wrong. You can't just fuck someone up. You can't just give a kid a spanking. Be like, oh, I just felt like it. You have to tell them exactly what they did wrong. Same with an adult. You can't spank an adult, but you can beat the shit out of them and say, look, motherfucker, you gave your wife a black eye when she was pregnant. She could have fell, hit the ground, lost the baby, some crazy shit. And that's why a lot of fights happen in jail, right? That's where there is some honor in jail, right? Even in jail, there's honor in prison, right? You wouldn't think it, but there was a Latin king, right? He wasn't the highest intelligent, but he was a street fighter, and he had some honor. He was shadow box. He taught me Sudoku. He was shadow boxing his cell all day. Turn the steam shower on so it'd be hot in there, and he'd be sweating like a sauna, just shadow boxing. That's kind of smart. That was intelligent. He's just getting exercise and shit like that. He's just preparing. He went to general population later, and he found out that this dude, his Peckerwood, is a white dude, right? He almost killed his wife from injecting her with meth. And he was trying to get high with her, and he injected her with too much meth, and she almost died. She got sent to the hospital and the ER and all that shit. So this Latin king, you know, they were in the same pod together, same tank, and he fought him. That dude got beat up like 3 times, but he wanted to. He knew he did wrong. He felt bad. So he would kind of start shit, or they kind of set it up where he's just like, you know, just start swinging, something like that. I don't know. I don't see everything that happened, but I saw the aftermath, right? He was had some black eyes and shit like that. I yelled at him. I was in sec, so I yelled at him from across the hall. Started talking shit. He felt bad, and then he said, you know, he's got love for me in his heart. And I know it's difficult because he was older. He's like 50 or something like that. And even at his age, you know, it's hard to find good work, and it's hard to become stable in this economy when you're just not genetically intelligent. Maybe you're not born with it, or you have a good memory or good cognitive functioning, and you're just born in an environment with friends and family who don't have the goals or same ambitions as you do. And so I feel bad for him. But certain things need to happen. It's good that he had remorse and he felt bad, but you know, sometimes people need to get their ass kicked, right? And because time can only do so much. You just riot, you just like go crazy and insane. It's like things that matter, right? You have to do something that matters. And there's a whole lot of other shit that happened. People making threats to kids, they would get fucked up in jail. And so, you know, this other dude, he took his own life. I mean, I don't know what the fuck was happening in his head, but to him, he's doing something for probably his crew, right? And putting some heat on the system, putting some heat and pressure on the government system and the jail system and all that shit. And he might have been in prison before. He just put... And they said he was tired of living that way, and it's difficult because he's a drunk. He doesn't, you know, it's difficult for some people, right? They're just addicts, or they just, you know, they have bad habits and bad addictions, and they're just is difficult, right? So for me, I can only speak on my experience, and hopefully this is a good portfolio and project that demonstrates some of my knowledge and background and experience. I'm a ex-paralegal. I graduated Blackstone Paralegal Institute, Blackstone Studies, right? Blackstone Career Institute. And it's a correspondence course specifically for prisoners, right? Now, we can learn the law, but if you really want to be like a vigilante, take action, or protect people, sometimes you have to intervene, right? And that's also goes with like sometimes bestowing wisdom to a younger generation, or bestowing wisdom even to your peers and elders, because they might not have the same perspectives or opinions or views that you do. So sometimes you have to bestow wisdom, and sometimes I learned some things, right? Sometimes you can't always beat the shit out of someone or beat someone up, or sometimes you can just slap them, right? It's not extreme enough. Slap them in the face, or take money from them, right? Make them get you some shit where there's fines. Same thing that cops do. They fine people. Sometimes the government kills people, lethal injection. Cops shoot people and beat people up all the time. I've been beat up by cops, right? I've been punched in the face, thrown on the ground, fucked up on the street by a cop, right? So they just throw you in jail. Even cops have stolen shit from me. They stole my suit. They stole my shoes. Luckily, I'm able to replace those kind of things, but that's the same thing that gangsters do, and mafia and people in jail and prisoners and shit like that. They'll fine you, take your shit. That's like a fine if you deserve it, if it's organized, right? If it's organized, you have to understand that they're trying to teach you a lesson, and they're doing this because it's a punishment or a penalty or consequence for something you did wrong. So, once you understand that, you could try to become a better person and try to right your wrongs and learn from your mistakes, So I'm almost back. This is a long walk. I should have took a bike. Man, I'm gonna have to get a electric bike or some shit. There's dragonflies everywhere, butterflies, little caterpillars and shit like that, millipedes. There's some deer back there. It is pretty hot. I'm wearing a long sleeve shirt. I'm wearing red, kind of attracts heat. So, that was the tabletop exercise with a mix of my experience and my background and things I wanted to speak on and say about my history and how it affected me, and how I'm not too fucked up to where it didn't mess me up so bad to where I can't function, but it's helped me gain a different perspective and given me time to think about my actions, think about my behaviors and my past, and where I want to be in my goals for the future, what I need to do to get there, and how I'm going to make an impact in my family's life, in my friends and family's life, and maybe an impact in society in helping secure the nation or speaking my voice, and trying to secure, critical infrastructure, enterprises, helping grandmas and grandfathers understand how to secure their networks and systems and devices and computers. So, helping the elderly. There's this dude, he's like a I don't want to say RoboCop. It's like, I forget his name, RoboDan or something. Like he gets calls from scammers all the time, and he keeps them on the line. He's like, oh yeah, I'm typing this, or I'm downloading this. He's not doing anything. He's like, and then he just says, and then he hacks into their account. He might turn off their computer, but he doesn't steal anything. He doesn't do anything too illegal, but he'll waste their time for the most part and be like, oh, I caught you, you're a scammer, why are you trying to scam people? And so he's wasting their time because his mom got scammed, and he wastes their time so they have less time to scam other people, and they get mad at him and shit like that. There's other people that really break into other people's systems and networks that are trying to scam them, but they explain it like, if someone's breaking in your house, right, that's what they're doing. If they go into your computer and your network, they're breaking in your house pretty much, in your network and your computer. And what they do, and now you have access to their account, so that's not your fault. Now you have access to their account because you hacked them back. And it's kind of a gray area where, as long as you're not like, hurting anyone or doing any theft, and so you don't want to provoke violence or provoke war or anything like that. So, but that's how he explains it. And so he'll just shut off devices, freeze it, kind of like teach them a lesson, right? Let him know that he's monitoring them. He's caught them. He's got their information. He's got their names. He knows where they're located, shit like that, right? So he threatens sometimes to call law enforcement on them, but a lot of times in other countries, law enforcement doesn't really care, right? If you bring money into the economy and you're from another country, say you're Cambodia, right? Cambodia, I believe that's in Asia somewhere. They they have warehouses full of people where they get beaten to death and just beat up and assaulted on a daily basis if they don't scam people for money. So if they're not making money, they're gonna get beat up, so they're scared and they have to scam. That's their job. They got kidnapped and they got sent to this warehouse where the only way for them to eat is to do ransomware or steal or scam somehow. Whether it's like giving you false dreams or false hope, or saying, yeah, we'll do this for you, or ransomware as a service, or, you know, write this script for you, or do this code for you, or make this app for you. There's a lot of legit companies out there, but sometimes you might get phished and hacked. Like, you know, I wanted this dude to make a chess app for me. He scammed the shit out of me. It was like, he gave me a shitty app that barely didn't even work, and he wasted a year of my life. Took him that long. I just left him a bad review. That's all I could do. It's like, what could I really do? See, he's here in the US, but he's so far away in another state. I'm not gonna go all crazy gangster and do some stupid shit. It's like, well, you know, I consider that a lesson learned, right? I can only trust certain people, and now that I've learned the level of trust that I could give and security that I need to implement in my own life, I learned a lot about social engineering and how people operate, people's behaviors, how they can manipulate you and have a psychological effect. Because a lot of times, if you want something, you want an app, you want a book, you want to be in a movie, this and that, you want maybe job opportunities. There's even job scams. People just trying to work and provide for their family. On LinkedIn and Indeed, there's job scams. You might apply for a job, happen to one of my family members. They'll interview you, get your bank information, say you got the job, and then they'll just take your money. You know, so that kind of shit. It's like, the internet's the wild, wild west, right? You got to be real careful. It's everyone for themselves on the internet. Companies, people in other countries, everyone, most people on the dark web, right? They're trying to make some money, doing some illegal shit. It's all they can do. And you know, with all the screening to get a high level job with the top security secret clearance, to get a high level of security clearance, top secret clearance, you know, that kind of shit requires a deep and serious and extreme vetting process and comprehensive screening process where they do background checks, interview your family, interview everyone you know, all of your computer activity, everything you do, you know, everything. So when it's that deep, that's the highest level of security. A lot of people won't qualify. So what can they do? They got to make money somehow. Like I was saying in another video, credit card skimmers, you know, what you call it, embossers, credit card encoders, you know, just doing little shit, trying not to get caught, trying to get by, trying to eat, you know. I'm just kind of sweating. So you can see that flag better. If you can see that flag, you can kind of see it in the background. That's the largest flag I've ever seen. I mean, that's like 20 feet by 30 feet. That, I don't know where they get. That's pretty cool. It's like, even at banks, they're not that large. And that's just a bubble bath car wash. There's nothing crazy there. I'm gonna take a break under this bridge and the shade and say a little more on my personal, you know, experiences and interactions. Last video was psych ward shit, inside information, the inside scoop, some deep information, some deep perspectives on the psych ward and how it affected me and how it affects other people. I made some really good friends, but we always part ways, and sometimes things just don't last. People gotta, for me, I have trust issues, right? So a lot of these people aren't gonna be on the same level as me, to where I'm trying to work and provide for my family. Other people trying to drink, do drugs, have fun, just live a crazy life, right? They'll have the 3 dots near their eye, or 3 dots on their hand or something. It means my crazy life, right? So, you know, people just are about that shit, and you know, they can only do so much. You know, people, for me, you know, work has always been my thing. I've always mowed lawns. I've always cut grass. I've always worked at fast food, and even you know, in sales and selling insurance and selling cable, satellite TV, all that shit. at a it was a telemarketing company, but I made pretty good sales. I made the company pretty good money because we would only sell to members who were like Sears card hold members at the time. So if they're a member, then Sears would give us their information, and as Sears card holders, they would get discounts or special promotions or like trials, right? So they could get free satellite TV for like maybe like 1 month, maybe 3 months, something like that, and then they could just cancel and just try it out, right? Whatever they're into, sports, shit like that, or whatever, right? So with life insurance, that's more difficult, right? People, that's like more morbid, right? So, I did my best. I was like 18, maybe 17. Then I jumped in the military, right? That's my background, ex-military. And that's why the things I speak on might sound a little deep, right? One thing I'll say is like one of my case managers, she said, we would meet a lot and talk about certain things and just hang out. And it's just therapy, I guess. But I told her, my life would probably be a lot different if my dad didn't die. If my dad was still alive, but he was still together with my mom, see, he left my mother, and if they were still together, me and my sisters would have grew up different, right? If we had a good father in the house, right? A smart, intelligent, disciplined father who was like ambitious and goal oriented. But my father, he was like an apartment manager or something like that. But he wasn't too like wildly successful, and for some reason he just left my mother after he had 3 kids with her. So, and he died later. When he died when I was 14, left when I was 7. So, but if I had and my stepfather raised us and paid the bills and shit like that and bought us presents and everything, but everything's different depending on who your parents are, depending on what you've learned, what books you've read, who your friends are, shit like that. So I feel that I've landed in the best spot I could have with considering my circumstances. But obviously I can't control what happens if my father dies. I can't control if I lose a loved one, or if I lose my friends, or if there are arguments or fights, conflicts within friends and family. We're supposed to forgive each other and move on, right? And move forward and try to make amends and patch things up and spend quality time and just have good moments and make good memories and shit like that, So, that was, hopefully I can make this part of my demonstration on certain technologies. Now I have a list of over 350 pages of just resources and all sorts of shit to where it would blow someone's mind. Like a beginner, it'd blow their mind. Like they would probably, kind of, I don't want to say panic attack, but they would kind of freak out to where like, is it that crazy? It's like, well, you specialize in a niche, right? Specialize in offense or defense, specialize in compliance or something like that, specialize in Azure, specialize in the cloud, you'll make it, right? A lot of people can make it. For me, where I'm going to make it might be mentorship or something else, right? Maybe speaking about the honor system and getting people to do the right thing. For me, I want to give other people opportunity, speak on my experience and my education, my background, my history, and just let the world know that I understand some of the powers behind these technologies, right? How extreme they can be and how much damage they can do. And it's life and death sometimes, and sometimes it's a lot of times money's life and death, right? A job can be life and death for your family, right? Because if they go homeless and they get evicted, now they're on the street and they can't feed their family, and something happens to them on the street. It's like they're maybe sleeping in the winter in the cold or something like that. It's like, well, bad things can happen. So it is life and death a lot of times. A job, money, national security. So, a job, money, national security. So I'm going to show you the clouds real quick, right? Here are the clouds. If you can see that, right? You can't really see that. Yeah, those are the clouds. That's where I'm at. That's how bright it is out. So that's the cloud. The cloud specializes in Azure. That's a cloud. Google Cloud Platform, AWS or Oracle, something like that, right? And that's where I'm at. This is the beginning of my cybersecurity journey. This is the beginning of my cybersecurity journey, to where I took crash courses, right, over the past 2 to 3 years. And I've just heavily been focusing on different technologies and different things on red team and offense. Red team, which is offense, and blue team and defense. So I understand a little about the side of both worlds in a sense, right? And it takes like 20 years sometimes to really become expert, right? So I've been in it for about 3 years. Experts have been in for 20, 25 plus years, you know? They were in it since the Commodore 64 came out, very first computer, shit like that, you know? And those are the experts because they've been in it their whole lives. That's really all they do. And I have a lot of respect for them because that's the kind of field I'm trying to jump into. Well, I think I've said enough. Wish me luck. Again, Amadan Miguel Castaneda, ex-Marine Sergeant. Hopefully you learned something from this. And mainly this is for my friends and my family. So anyone else that stumbles upon this video, I hope you learned something about me and my past and my history. And, you know, hopefully you put it to good use, apply yourself, and make it and become hyper successful in this world, right? So to my friends and family, I love y'all. Stay safe. Try to make the world a better place than you found it, right? Try to make America a better place than you found it. We're all going to leave this earth one day, and try to leave this world a better place than you found it, right? So stay safe. I'll see y'all later. Peace. Take care.